morning. My kids are not late today. We have a new AV setup in this room. So we're kicking the tires on it for the first time. So I hope this all works. But I can see myself now. There's a screen in the back. Um, and we're broadcasting it live on Facebook. So I hope this all works. So that's why I came. That's it. Well, good morning. Thanks for showing up. Those of you here, and then those of you who are watching online as well. Um, Monday was a really great and exciting announcement in our community, and the announcement of the vision, what we call the 2050 vision, that will include a new facility, Riverline Center at the Riverline District, and an indoor parks and rec facility at the current convention center. So that was kind of the exciting kickoff. What we wanted to do today is just give a chance for you all to ask now some specific questions, maybe get into the weeds a little bit more about that vision and that plan. And I've asked Don Kearney, our Parks and Rec director, and Terry Schmidt with Experience Sioux Falls to be here as well to answer questions, as both of their lanes will be heavily impacted by this vision. So, one thing I just want to kind of make clear from the get go is what we call this 2050 vision. It doesn't mean it's going to take till 2050 for this to get done, but what we're saying with that is um, what does Sioux Falls need to be for the next 25, 30 years? What does our community need to look like? What are we going to need? Uh, 25, 30 years ago, we were envisioning our current campus out there, and it served the community very well. And so now it's my role as the leader of the community to say, okay, where is Sioux Falls headed with our population growth, with the growth of the entire region, and what are we going to need as a community? And so it's not just about construction or buildings; it's really just about a vision for where Sioux Falls is headed. You know, really bullish on this Riverline District concept. I think if you actually take an aerial look of that map and see where that Riverline District is in comparison to our downtown, um, you will actually find that you could probably walk to Monks or Minerva's in a shorter distance than it would take you to get into the Premier Center from where you have to park when it's a busy night out there. And so we're anxious over the years ahead to continue to reinforce the accessibility of that location and why it's a great spot for us. Two big needs are driving this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Don. First is the fact that we need more things for kids and families in this community. We know we do. We know we need more indoor recreation space, and Don's going to get into a little bit more detail of some things we didn't even touch on Monday that will reinforce why that need is so great. And the second thing is we are missing out on some significant opportunities to capitalize from a monetary standpoint on conventions in this community. We are a very low tax state, which we love, which I love. There's even consideration of maybe a consumables food tax that might be on the ballot in November, that if the voters would approve, would make us an even lower tax state. That's going to create its own challenges, which is a topic for another day. But so because of that, and because of the low tax climate we're in, we have to squeeze every ounce of blood out of the turnip we can. And so when we have people who come to our community and they come to events and they come to conventions, we need to make it as easy as possible for them to leave their money here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And right now, it's not been very easy for that to happen. And so we're looking to have a better return on investment from those thousands of people that come here every year from out of town to our community. And so those two big needs are driving this 2050 vision that we rolled out on Monday. And honestly, that we're going to be talking about for the next several years. I got asked on Monday, what's the timeline? I don't know the timeline, but I will say that this is a 4, 5, 6 year initiative. Okay. There's a lot of dominoes that have to fall in terms of one, acquiring the Riverline District land, which isn't even um, been purchased yet. Once that's acquired, we have to design a facility. What sort of facility will we have there? We don't know because we haven't even engaged Experience Sioux Falls and other partners, other hoteliers, others in our entertainment industry enough to even know. What will be at the convention center? Well, we can't work on the convention center until we build a new convention center. So once that's open, then we could start on that project. So you can see that this is a multi-year, multi-phase vision for the community. But we have to start today, and we have to make sure that the community comes along with us in the process. So I'm going to turn it over to Don Kearney. Don's the Director of Parks and Rec for the city. He's going to talk a little bit about the rec side of this initiative and why it's important to Sioux Falls. Don?
Thanks, Paul. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to provide a little more context about the indoor recreation needs that we have here in Sioux Falls. NRPA, it's our national association that we use as a guide on a lot of recommendations for making sure that you're providing services at a good level throughout the community. And one of the standards that they have and recommendations for indoor square footage is that you have 1.5 square foot for every person that lives in your community. So for every resident that lives in Sioux Falls, they're recommending that you have 1.5 square feet of indoor rec space. Today, we only have about 10% of that recommendation. That means we need an additional 300,000 square feet of indoor rec space in order to meet that recommendation. In addition, every time we do our comprehensive plan, we poll our residents as to what their recreation needs are. And we really hear it loud and clear when we poll them. And some of the top priorities include adult health and wellness. Think running tracks, walking tracks, sail programs that we offer at the Midco, group fitness, individual exercise opportunities for adults, outdoor adventure. Think about climbing walls that you typically would see in an indoor recreation space that are very popular, not only for children but also adults. Swimming lessons. Swimming lessons are probably the most demanded program that we have across our park system. When we offer lessons and we open up registration online, if you're not one of those people that gets into the online portal within the first 5 minutes, those first levels of lessons, primarily for our younger kids that really need to know that life safety skill, you're not going to get into those early levels of Red Cross lessons. And so the demand is high. And again, if you're not within the first 5 minutes of getting online, you're probably going to miss out and have to wait for another session. The other thing that we're trying to do with lessons, because there is so much demand, is that typically we offer them in the evenings, weekends, obviously, and then during the summer as well, when kids are out of school. But now, when kids are in school, we're also offering lessons because the pre-K kids as well as homeschool kids, it's another opportunity for us to be able to provide those lessons. Indoor play space, it's something that we hear over and over again. We had an opportunity to tour various different recreation facilities up in the Fargo area. And when we toured that facility, the staff would say that our indoor play space that we have at our rec center is so busy, you would literally get a pager, like you'd go to a restaurant and get a pager and say, okay, your table's ready. They give you a pager when you walk in. You get an hour to be in the play space, then you have to leave so the next group can come in. And the demand on indoor play space is just really high, and it's something that I know if we were able to build that, it would be busy from the time that we open to the time that we close. And the good news about all those demands and the polling that we've done and all the needs that are identified by the community, indoor rec facility accommodates those needs. The other thing I'd mention too is that if you think indoor rec is only for winter months, we're here to tell you that indoor rec is a year-round opportunity. It's appealing for all seasons. Let's face it, not every day is all sunshine in Sioux Falls. Rain, wind, heat, all those things contribute to the attractiveness of having indoor recreation space. Just look at the Midco Aquatic Center. Believe it or not, the busiest months at the Midco Aquatic Center, June, July, and August, the hottest months of our time. But people find it appealing. Daycares flock to the facility for a variety of different reasons. And so we really see this as a year-round venue, and not just in the wintertime. And don't take my word for it either. We have staff that work at these facilities. They set up all the games and activities at the convention center on Monday, and they will tell you, indoor soccer, whether it's on turf or a gym floor, there's high demand for that. Pick up basketball and volleyball. You know, people just want to go out and exercise and play with their friends and be able to use gym space in that regard. Indoor play, I already mentioned, and then if you've been in the pickleball scene, you know how popular that is. When we were in West Fargo, literally every single court was full of seniors playing and people waiting to get on the court, and they had several courts to accommodate that. So the announced Monday is a great opportunity to really move the needle on indoor rec, and we're excited about the vision that Paul and the Riverline leadership has created for both indoor rec with the transformation of the Denny Sanford Arena and Convention Center complex, and for the build out of the new event center complex downtown. So to shed more light on this bold vision, we have Terry Schmidt from Experience Sioux Falls with us today. Terry will delve deeper into the need for this plan and its potential impact on our community. Terry?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Well, to say I'm excited about this possibility is understatement. I think most of you in the room and the media here, I've known for quite some time, and I think you've heard me with my thoughts over the years. So when Paul, excuse me, and the group came forward with this, I was quite excited. This is a big, bold vision for Sioux Falls, but that's who Sioux Falls is. Everything we do, if you look over the years, uh, I can think back to so many things that have happened in Sioux Falls, and it's the community that comes together, takes off the hat of whatever their business is, and they put on the Sioux Falls hat because they know that what they're doing and what they're talking about is for the betterment of the community for years to come. And that's exactly what we have the opportunity to do with this vision. I want to talk a little bit about the need for the convention center. Um, we are charged with selling Sioux Falls, I think most of you know, to the world, to come here for conventions, meetings, bus tours, to vacation, come here for medical concerns, come here to shop, come here to go to an event, come here to go to a convention. So anybody who is a visitor. And as we focus and have focused on the convention center since it opened, it's been a fabulous convention center. But that was in 1996 that the convention center opened. It wasn't long after that time that we realized, oh my gosh, we have an opportunity to book this group or that group. But why weren't we going forward with that opportunity? And today is probably the most poignant of all, that we, frankly, are losing business, convention business, every single day. Why is that important? Well, we can talk about quality of life, but I don't think I need to talk a lot about that. We all know what a wonderful community we have and what facilities and parks, et cetera, bring to our quality of life. But today I want to talk just about the convention center. Here's a prime example of why we need a convention center. We need more space. We need more hotels attached. Here's an example. Just yesterday morning, we had a lead come in from a national convention, 800 people for a week. Never been here before, all new business. Here's in their required information. Let me read this to you, and this I think says it all. Location: provide detailed information about safely walkable sidewalks and crosswalks, etc. Area attractions, which includes restaurants, shopping, attractions. Walkable locations should be no more than 5 to 10 minutes in a leisurely walk from the convention center. Again, we've got a great facility out there, but it's not working anymore. Size and walkability kill us. And this is a prime example. We had to go back to them yesterday afternoon and say, we're sorry. We don't have that specification for you. The second one that killed us, they wanted 450 sleeping rooms attached. We have 243 today. This is what we deal with every day. Sioux Falls is losing business. It's really very sad. I've talked about the economic side of things, but do you know that every time a convention comes here, it creates sales tax? Every time a convention comes here, there are jobs because people have to serve in every kind of capacity you can think of. They have to serve these guests. It's like having them into our living room. You have to feed them. You have to get them around. You have to make it easy for them. You have to make them feel welcome. If they're in a location where they can't walk to places and they can't buy things or eat, they don't like it. And look at the map. Look around the country. They can go almost anywhere because all of our competitive cities, I promise you, have already added on or built a new convention center. And here we are today just starting to talk about it. It's an economic vitality issue. This is true economic development. These people come here, enjoy everything that we have every day, and then they go home. But what do they leave here? They leave their hard-earned money in Sioux Falls. So we've got sales tax that's generated, jobs that's generated. Entertainment happens because we all have all these people come in. Our quality of life, of course. And then think about the vitality, the energy that this facility would bring to downtown Sioux Falls. We're talking small businesses. We're talking about investing in them, putting our heart and soul into their future. Economic development. I want to tell you that the National Trappers Association will be here this summer. Here's an example for you. Their estimated economic impact, what they're going to spend in Sioux Falls this summer, one group, $2,338,360. Here's another group, the PRCA, they are the rodeo group. I get in trouble between rodeo and other items sometimes. They will spend, to put their event on in Sioux Falls, the association, will spend $2,088,000 just to put on their event. You know what else? 711 jobs are estimated to be needed in Sioux Falls to serve that group. We have a international association that we plug numbers in for, and they spit back all of these numbers that our international association has studied and given us the format. So any group, we can go in and find out how many jobs, what's the economic impact, et cetera, et cetera. But these things affect this community, every one of us in this room. Direct impacts, everything from retail, entertainment, recreation, food and beverage, transportation, hotels. This is what people need when they come here. Indirect, once they've stayed in their hotel, they're going to eat somewhere, they're going to possibly buy gas or an airplane ticket. Believe me, people chuckle when I say this, but they break their tooth or break their arm. They need medical attention. We get them to that location. Media picks stuff up. You all know you invest dollars in this kind of thing. And all of those people have to have jobs because that group is in town. So it rolls over to all of us who have jobs because we have visitors. But what do we all do? We turn around and we pay our medical bills. We buy our kids' clothes. We buy a car. We pay all of our groceries, et cetera, et cetera. But we couldn't do that if those people weren't here. In 2022, visitors' tax revenue, room tax from just the hotels I'm talking now, in 2022 brought in $3.4 million. $3.4 million. Visitors to Sioux Falls in 2022, only those that we could count were just under 2 million. Only those that we could count. But we know from International Association again, that you always have to multiply that times 3, because there are people in town right now doing business or leisurely enjoying the community that we don't even know about. And if we do what our International Association says we should do, you multiply that and it takes us to 3.5 million visitors a year. Think of the people that come into town for meetings and things that we don't even, that maybe you host, that we don't even know about. If that's the case, we'd be over $1 billion in economic impact to Sioux Falls. And when I say if that's the case, I believe it is the case, because it is all done through a formula. It's not guessing or anything. That is the actual number. Okay. Every day my sales team says to me, what are we gonna do? We don't have a big enough convention center, and we have the walkability issue. What are we gonna do? We're falling behind. It's a struggle. We need it. These partners that come together to invest in these kinds of relationships and moving Sioux Falls forward, do it because it is the heart of Sioux Falls. It's who we are. And again, they take their hats off at the table and get things done, and I believe that's what will happen. I want to leave you with just a couple of things. When we bring in international or national, mostly national, meeting planners, and this is really key, we take them all over. It's called a site visit. We plop them in our cars and we drive all over Sioux Falls. We show them everything. But in particular, how will your group meeting planner utilize our community based on what you say you need? The Falls, downtown, 41st Street, Lake Lorraine, everything out east, the fields, the complex, all of this. And the best part of that is that those people probably haven't been here, and it's really fun to hear them say, whoa, we had no idea. This is a great community. We want to bring our business here. But you know what almost every one of them says to us before they leave? You have the most incredible downtown. Do you know how lucky you guys are? And you have a great convention center out there. But it's out there. We don't want our convention people to be out there. We need them to be where they can walk and get to restaurants, shops, entertainment. We hear it, and we have heard it for years. We hear it all the time, and that sticks with us, and it makes it harder to sell because it is out there. Some time ago, I was able to be in DC to listen to the president talk about our industry. And he gave an example that I have never forgotten, and I often say it to groups that I'm speaking to in Sioux Falls. If we think about the million, let's just say the million people that come to Sioux Falls, or the 3 million people that we believe come to Sioux Falls annually, what if they didn't come here? What if Sioux Falls chose to do nothing and just sit still? How many eggs would not be needed in Sioux Falls anymore? Think of the restaurants, the hotels. And if we don't need the eggs, then we don't need the trucks and the delivery people to get them here. How many fewer restaurants would be in business? And how many people in those restaurants would not have jobs? How many airlines how many airlines would have fewer flights in and out because of those visitors coming in? I could keep going and keep going. But if you stop and think about not bringing in people from 50 miles out any further and not doing something about the convention center, we need double the space, and we need at least, I've said 400 hotel rooms on site. I'm starting to believe, I almost hate to say this, we need at least 450 from what's happening now. If we don't continue building in Sioux Falls, like I said, look at our competition. They're just blowing us away. I think there was, and I didn't allude to it, sorry. There was a screen up here that showed competitively how long it takes, or you can get to a hotel, a restaurant within walking distance, and look where we're at. It makes a difference. It makes a difference to the planner. So my charge to us today and to myself uh, is this, and Mayor, you've heard me say it before, Sioux Falls has a big decision to make. We have a great opportunity. If we want to move forward in the convention business, we've got to do something because we're already behind. So let's do something, move Sioux Falls forward for our future. Thank you.
I feel like we should speech. So we'd be open to taking questions from any of you guys about any of the topics discussed, the facts discussed, and where we go from here. So, Patrick?
Terry, don't go. I think you need to go back up there. You've been doing this for a long time. You've seen these decisions come and go. There's going to be a lot of people out there that say, I told you so. It should have been downtown many, many, many years ago.
True.
One, is this to remedy a mistake? And I hate to be negative about it, but would this remedy some of the decisions that we made in the past that put us out there? And is it big enough?
I don't think that, a lot of us wanted it downtown in the first place. We knew that. But the decision at the time was that that was the best location and we had to get going. It has served us well. It has served us well. But today isn't 1996 when we opened. We knew shortly after it opened that it wasn't big enough. We knew that because we knew about the growth of Sioux Falls and the momentum here and that we could do much better. But was it a mistake? No, I mean, we had to do something. We were moving forward. And at the time, it was okay. When you ask, is it big enough? Do you mean the one out there?
The one we're planning. I mean, you just said maybe we need 450.
Yeah.
Maybe we need 500.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't really, I know that someone is going to come in and study all of that. So, I can say what our sales efforts show us, and that is that we need today double the space and at least 400 hotel rooms on site. But I've been saying that for probably 5 to 10 years.
and just a quick, you, one of the big conventions that was always used an example was the Pheasants Forever back in the day, that we need to get now they're coming back in a few weeks here. Why doing this? What's the example of something we can get that we're not getting? Because that was a big selling point.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Pheasant Fest may not come back again because they've run out of space. They're going to put out an RFP, which is a request for proposals from other cities to see what's out there, and we may lose them. We may. The one that I told you about that needs the walkability. I mean, we've got a list of lost business because of this. But, Pheasant Fest is a prime example. Lutheran Women's Missionary League, I'm sorry, I should tell you that one. They were the first national that we booked in the new convention center. They loved it. They just loved it. But she said to me at the end, we love it here. You guys were awesome, but we need more space already. And until you get more space and someplace for our people to walk around, to buy gifts for their family to take home, or to grab a muffin or whatever, where they can walk, we won't be back.
Just one question for the mayor, and then I'll give it to Trevor. Is when people look at that space, they don't see a lot of space, and when you drive by it, it's hard to imagine. Oh, let's put a big old convention center here. How are we gonna? Is it big enough? How do you describe that to people?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little hard to envision when there's already a massive building on it. And um, what people need to realize is that the city has a lot of ancillary property around that too, including Nelson Park back there, the existing skate park. The viaducts are going to be redesigned. There's space opportunity there. There's also space under the viaduct. So there's more space there than people realize. We've already done some initial assessments that have dropped Lincoln's Convention Center, Des Moines Convention Center, Milwaukee's Convention Center onto that parcel. Just take it, Google Maps. How would that fit in here? They all fit. But the way that convention spaces are built today too, we may not need 80,000 square feet on one flat space. We maybe have the meeting, back of house, all that stuff on the first floor, and escalators up to all the flat floor space. I mean, we don't know. And that's why when I said on Monday the cake is not baked yet, because it's not. We don't know the size. We don't know how it should be set up. And that's what's cool about the spot we're in is we have kind of a blank canvas right now. To say, man, knowing what we need, knowing what modern convention amenities are, and what people are expecting, what will we build on this property? So it's exciting. But we also know, to her point, Terry's point, we do want an attached full service hotel. There is going to have to be a parking structure. I know that's one thing people will come out right away and say, "Oh, parking, where are people going to park?" Been in Sioux Falls for 24 years. People are always complaining about parking in our downtown. Uh, I never hear people complain about parking when they go to a Twins game or a Vikings game or a Chiefs game because they just know parking's part of it. You have to find a place to park. You may have to go into a ramp and park. And so there's community education that we'll continue to have to do, that there is ample parking, and we will make sure that the parking is readily available. So, yeah.
Whoa, that's a little louder than I expected. What's the, I guess, what's the statement? What's the pitch to people who think this is the wrong thing to put there? I mean, I know you yourself and other people had expressed interest in the possibility of sports being there. There are people who want to see multifamily housing. There are people who are mad the Department of Social Services is going to leave. I guess obviously it's a lot of different. You know, that's a case by case question in some ways. But what's the response to people who
Yeah.
say this isn't what we should be putting?
I would say this, we as an administration, as city leaders, are tasked with getting the highest and best use out of assets that we've been entrusted with. Okay? There we have 8 or 9 acres in the core of our downtown, and we need to ask, what's the highest and best use of that land? Could we put housing there? For sure. Would the return on that investment be there? Not at all. Could we build a rec center down there? Absolutely, we could. Would we get the spin-off sales tax revenue and all the things we're missing out on? We would not. So I think the sales pitch is this: not only are we killing one or two birds with this stone, we're really killing 4 or 5. Okay, we're getting a huge indoor recreation facility, modern day convention facility, attached full service hotel, which we know we need, uh, increased downtown viability and sales tax revenue for our downtown retailers. Uh, and so there is a lot of benefits to this. People who may say we should just expand out at the existing facility, we need more convention space. We could do that for sure. Doesn't alleviate a lot of the problems that Terry just pointed out. It also does not jack up that sales tax revenue that we need to see, because this is going to cost a lot of money. I'll go on record right now. It's going to be a big, significant investment that this community is going to have to figure out. But if we know that we have a return and we have money coming back to us to help service debt, it's a lot more sellable. And so I would say if anyone feels there's a higher and best use of that land that provides a better economic return and also gives kids and families 80,000 square feet of space to play, I'm all ears. But I think it's a very solid plan.
Where is the, I guess, where does downtown keep growing from now? I mean, outside of this, 2050 space. I mean, obviously, people keep moving here. We see stuff like the Steel District in Chiraba. Where is the next space like this?
Great question. And I tell you, the DSS building 10 years ago wasn't on my radar. That side of the river was not on downtown development radar. It was Falls. It was even moving south where Premier Bank is now. Those were the opportunities. Well, our downtown is really successful, and there's not a lot of big opportunities like this. If we don't take advantage of this now, honestly, it's hard for me to see where we'd have another 8, 9 acres in the core of our community for an opportunity like this. So the time is really right for this. I do want to say one other thing though, and that is we had an announcement Monday. We're on this presser today to kind of answer some questions, but we are one out in the top of the first right now. for this game. This is going to take a long time to do. And so this isn't oh, hurry up and we need to put a funding package together and get design started. There's so many pieces that have to take place in this. It's a very complicated and long vision, but you have to start those somewhere. We started a wastewater plant, 3, 4 years ago, planning for that. That's going to open in 2 years. 6-year vision to make sure your toilet's flush. But we started it, 4 years ago. And some of these things in municipalities take a long time. This is going to be one of those. So you're probably going to be sick of hearing about the Riverline over the next 2.5 years while I finish out my term, because it's going to be a steady beat of, hey, move the ball down the field another yard this month on this. Here's another thing that was done. Here's another thing that was done. I expect you guys to continue to hold us accountable on, hey, how's it going? What's the feedback? What are we hearing? And so we're really looking forward to a long but fruitful kind of marathon over the next several years on this.
One more, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Please, Guy.
go ahead.
Well, how do you, obviously, like you said, I mean, this is a long, long process. How do you set it up so that it continues past your time as mayor?
Well, I think one thing that's very important in something like this is you need to make sure that the community's on board. Because if the community feels that a project is being pushed by an administration, pushed by an elected official, pushed by a special interest group, if people say, this is just Experience Sioux Falls, this is their thing, or this is just the mayor's thing, people won't get behind it. And so there's going to be a lot of sales job over the next several years, making sure people realize how important and how needed this is. That, if I'm a mayor coming in 2026, and I know I have the support of the community, people are bought in, a city council's bought in, that's a vision I'd be honored to take and keep moving forward. I had several things like that when I took office. Levitt Shell, so thankful that got done because that advanced the vision of continue to build the Falls Park, north. Now we have Jacobson Plaza and everything as a result of that. And so I'm hoping that this is a similar thing where this vision is started and the next administration can build on that and continue to advance. Good morning.
Good morning. I do have a question for Terry eventually, but for you first. How are you planning to kind of work this into the budget? Because you talked about how you don't know the cost really right now. So how are you going to kind of budget in the years coming for the city?
Yeah, great question. The one budgetary need right now that's in the near term, even without knowing the cost of what we're going to build or anything, is we have to acquire the land. We have $8-9 million that we need to appropriate in this next budget, purchase the land. So that's something that we know we're going to be putting in front of this city council. And it will be a new city council with 4 new members come August when that budget is presented in July, whenever we present that budget to them. June? July, when we present that budget to them. Eventually, the plan will be baked, the designs will be done, and we know what we want to build and what it's going to cost. Once we know what it's going to cost, then we'll determine how we're going to budget for it. Is this a bond? Is this a public-private partnership? Is there philanthropic support for what we're doing that someone may want to be a part of? Is there a special bid district that we can put into place to help fund this? We'll look at all kinds of different funding models. But an example I've used a little bit, and it's not super maybe relevant, but it makes sense in my simple mind, is I've told my family for many years we're going to go to Hawaii. And they say, when? And I say, I don't know. They say, how much will that cost? I said, I have no idea, but we're going to do it and we're going to start planning for it. Someday we're going to do this. And so that is a vision that we have for our family to do that. And eventually, as we get closer to completing that vision, we'll know how much we have to pay for that, what it's going to cost, and when we're going to do it. And so right now, I've just told the community, hey, we're going to Hawaii. I don't know when. And that's what we'll be planning for and budgeting for in the years ahead.
Thank you. And then Terry. So you talked about how Sioux Falls is kind of, it's been growing a lot throughout the years. Are you concerned at all that by the time this convention center gets built, that Sioux Falls will be even bigger, that that convention center will be too small?
That's an excellent question. Um, yeah, I am concerned about it, but I do believe again that the people who come to the table and really study all this about what size are not going to think about today. They're going to think about 10, 20 years out. And that, I think that's something that's very critical that we do, because once we build it, we want it to be right for the future. This isn't for us. I mean, I'll be long gone. You'll be in Hawaii. I don't know, but um, yeah, we have to look at that, and we have to make very sure that we are building for the future.
I think by 2050, which is kind of how we're trying to think, and I think how you want elected leaders to think is not for the 2 years of your term left, but what's going to happen? How are you setting the stage for the community? By 2050, we'll be 300,000 people. I mean, if we keep growing at 5K a year, over the next 25 years, we'll be at close to 300,000. So what does a city of 300,000 need? What are we going to need in 2050? Now, we'll be able to do everything that we're going to need? I don't know. Everything costs money, and that's the tension we have constantly. We had a meeting yesterday about our aquatics facility and what people want and what we can afford, and they're not always lining up, Uh, and so that's what we'll be going into in the next several, months and even years of planning, making sure that we're not being short-sighted, but we're also doing what's fiscally responsible and what we can afford to build.
Thank you.
Beyond the budget in July and buying the land, which is, we'll assume that's going to happen for the sake. Who do you have to convince next?
Who what?
Who do you have to convince next?
You have to convince the public. I think you want to make sure the community's on board with this, because it's their dollars that they be entrusting to the city to invest wisely, investing in kids and families with a rec center, investing in a Riverline Center to provide a return. So you have to convince them that you're being a good steward. And so I think right now, 48 hours into this, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of, aha, this makes too much sense almost. But I know that honeymoon period will fade, and we're going to have to come up with the facts, the pro formas, the information that shows why this is a good thing for Joe taxpayer who lives at 26 and Marion, and why this is good for them.
Do you feel like there need to be a public vote to just cement that? Sort of like Mayor Uther did with the event center, which wasn't a binding vote. It was sort of a vote of confidence.
Mhm.
Do you see that happening in this
I think,
case?
I think there's certainly potential for that. If there's a sentiment in this community that um, people want to say at the ballot box on an initiative like this, we're going to listen to that, and make sure that they have their voice heard. So, as you know, there's a lot of ways to have your voice heard in their community other than just at a ballot box, and people take advantage of that a lot. But we also don't ever want people to feel like this was something that they weren't a part of. And that's a message I've got loud and clear over the last few years with some of the initiatives we worked on is you need to bring people along with you. Because if they feel that they weren't part of the decision-making process in their community, you're never going to get them on board. So potentially, I'll just say potentially, it may be something that we take to a public vote if and when the time is right. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming today, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this in weeks, months, and years ahead. So thank you.